Sometimes people have the expectation that the company's looking out for their best interest. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it's much smarter for an employee or for someone in a company to find a way to make themselves irreplaceable. And I don't mean that in a Machiavellian or political sense. I mean that in the most simple way possible. Find something that the company isn't good at and become the best person in the company at doing that. There's tons of opportunity. Like, for instance, right now, every company has to learn social media. It's not just traditional media companies that have to master this. Any company that markets or talks to customers or talks to business partners has to learn social media. But how many executives in these companies are really very comfortable with social media? Most of them are not. What do young people spend most of their free time doing? They're using social media. Hey, they grew up with these tools. They know this stuff backwards and forwards. So if I were a young person in a company, I would make sure that I was the guy who knew the most about this particular topic and show some real results. Now, you can't take your eye off the ball. You got to do your day job, and you got to do a great job at that. Otherwise, you're going to look like you're slacking. You can't do that. You've got to make sure you're delivering on the job you're paid for, but then bring in this extra skill set that the company doesn't have. And lo and behold, as that grows and as more budget is allocated for it, or as you create more opportunities there, the company's very likely to make you the person who runs that business and grows it. I've seen that happen many times.
I've seen there are now it has to do with social media. It's the upper
chief social
social media officer. Yes.
My goodness gracious.
CSMO. Yes.
My goodness gracious.
Thank you.
It ought to be a part of marketing and communications because that's really normally where it resides. However, the distinction that's being made there is it is a unique kind of a medium, and it's a super important one. It encompasses everything from pushing content out and getting messages and information out, but also dealing with the responses. So there's a little element of customer care there as well. Many companies have shifted their customer care over to social media for that very reason, because people like it. It's faster, they get an immediate response, and so forth.
And more seasoned workers have to realize that they can't just leave that to the kids, to the younger workers in their company.
True.
They have to adapt and embrace that as well.
When I have the opportunity to speak to CEO groups or CXO groups, I always advise them.
CXO?
That's any CEO, CIO, CMO, right? I always advise them to make sure that they spend a fair amount of time learning these new social software tools and actually use them like customers do, like real people do. Don't just look at them. But if they get stuck, it's also great to ask your teenage kids or your nieces and nephews to show you how to use this stuff, because young people adapt to these things so fast, and they're very happy to be an expert and share that with their grown-ups.